bad ones which can tomorrow destroy your spleen or your kidney. So they are all deleted. So the protein of spleen, the protein of kidney, the protein of liver is called as tolerogen. Does that make sense? No. Okay. Okay, so here there is a kidney and a bacteria. They both have got small portions which I have labeled as antigens because they can be recognized by your B or T cells. Above, the small b represents that it is coming from bacteria. So a B cell that can recognize the bacteria, a T cell that can recognize bacteria. At the bottom there is a B and T cell that can recognize the kidney antigen. Okay, so if these all four are circulating in our body, they will definitely, whenever the bacteria come, these B and T cells will attack that, and whenever these bottom ones will recognize the kidney, they will attack the kidney. So logically it's not safe. Is it safe for these B and T cell to keep circulating in the body? Because anytime they become crazy, they are going to go and kill the kidney. They are going to start damaging the kidney. So the best thing is either to remove them or to make them non-functional. That is the only way you can keep your body safe. So what I can do is delete them or block them. So far it's clear? So when I block it or when I delete them, the part against which it was deleted, this is called as tolerogen. Okay, this part is tolerogen, while that part is immunogen, because the bacterial antigen is going to cause immune response, while this one, the nature has already deleted the bad ones. So your body is now resistant. It can stay in the presence of kidney because those bad T cells and B cells have been removed from the system. So the protein of the kidney will be termed as tolerogen, while the protein of bacteria will be termed as immunogen. Is it fine?
It's the meaning of autoimmune.
If this blocking or deletion is not done 100% safe and some of the B cells just stay in the body, there is a lecture on that as well. So I'll give a lecture on immunological tolerance. So if they stay, they will start damaging your joints, your kidneys, and that is called as autoimmunity. It's the defect in this deleting process. Okay. Thank you. So yes, this process, if it has certain defect then or error, that will result in autoimmunity. So it's very good you brought this point. Now you can understand slightly. We'll go in details as we go further in our lectures. Now another question, why some people are allergic to penicillin if it is a hapten? The answer is, how an hapten become an immunogen? By binding to a carrier protein. Now there's a ladder here on the right side. On the top is the highly immunogenic. So complex protein are very, very immunogenic. While if you look at the bottom, amino acids alone, they are the least immunogenic. So there is a ladder of how strong they can be ranked. Nucleic acids stay somewhere in the middle, or steroids, lipids are down, amino acids are right at the bottom. Now we'll talk about the first line of defense. So when any pathogen, any microbe, they try to enter your body, there is a line of defense. First line of defense, then there is a second line of defense, then is a third line of defense. The first line of defense is the barriers. There are 4 barriers. There is physical, chemical, biological, and mechanical barriers. Then the second line of defense, it's innate immune response. And I showed you 2 things, the cells and the humoral system. The cells are these phagocytes. What does the phagocyte means? Which can eat. Very good. Phagocytes are neutrophils and macrophages and neutrophils, while natural killer cell is a killer cell. On the other hand, you asked me what is humoral. Humoral, one example is mentioned here, has complement protein. So these are the humoral components of the innate immune system. Then we'll go to the third line of defense, which is the adaptive immune system. And you can see now the cells, B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes of the adaptive immune system. Now a little bit more detail about the barriers. The physical barrier. The first thing is your whole body is covered with skin. Your nasal cavity, from where the bacteria can enter, it is lined by the mucosa in the nasopharynx, in the trachea, all the way, and then the GI tract, from where the food can have certain bacteria or pathogens, they are also lined by the mucus lining. Then another important thing is flow of secretion, a mechanical barrier. Physically, what is pushing these pathogens or controlling them? Flow of secretion of urine. So anything harmful, whether toxins or pathogens, they are flushed out in the form of urine. Any irritant that enters your respiratory tract, then it results in either coughing or sneezing. And the ciliary movement, they are mechanical barriers as well. Then if you think of chemical barriers, acidic pH of the stomach, or the enzymes that are present in the tears, in the saliva, there are lysozymes or RNases, DNases, they are present in different secretions as well. They are the chemical barriers. And finally, biological barriers include commensal bacteria. Have you heard of that? What are commensal bacteria? So bacteria are normally pathogenic, but there are certain bacteria which stay in your body, which reside in your body. They stay as good bacteria. They protect your body from harmful things, and these are called as commensal bacteria. In the next module, there will be again detail about what are commensal bacteria. Yes, please.
Like gut bacteria.
Exactly, like gut bacteria, they help in producing vitamins. They help in doing, lot of functions. So just remember, commensal bacteria are good bacteria. So they are your biological barrier. Yes, please.
What's the
Cilia,
cilia?
hair-like projections in the mucosa which move like this, ciliary movements. They are present in the nasopharynx. They are present in the GI tract. Yeah.
How would the cilia happen?
So if any pathogen, they try to enter, have you thought about how you have sneezing response? Any irritant enters your nose or nasopharynx, it irritates or cause the movement of the cilia. That take the nerve impulse to the brain, and that results in sneezing response. And with the blow, you kind of push out the pathogen or irritant, anything.
What is UGT?
UGT, urogenital tract. Urogenital tract. So in the urinary bladder, urethra, in the females, the genital tract, it is all lined by uterus, and this all is lined by mucosa as well. Now this particular figure, it shows you the different components that are present in the skin. So it's not necessarily skin of the hand. It has the skin of the ear can have some things, the skin of the hand can have some things. So all the components that are possibly present in the skin, first thing that you see is dry surface and water resistance. So this helps to prevent the entry of pathogens in the body. That's the first strong physical barrier. Then the sloughing of keratinocytes, that also helps. So whenever the keratinocytes are damaged, they are quickly removed and replaced by the new ones. Lysozymes are enzymes that help in destroying the pathogens. They are like antibiotics. They are produced in the skin as well. Then alpha defensins and beta defensins, they are also like killers against the pathogens. And RNases, DNases, they can destroy the nucleic acids and all other microbial proteins. And then the sebum. Sebum helps in production of wax in the ear, and that also protects you from the pathogens. So you can see what are the different functional abilities of the skin that acts as a physical chemical barrier. Now, why I talked about all these barriers, whether physical, chemical, biological, because they have got some clinical implications. So if something happens to them, we'll talk about all the possible causes, not everything, but most of the possible causes that can result in damage and then disease. For example, if you have got cut wound, you have a sharp needle wound or with a knife, or the burn or abrasions, it will all result in damage to this physical barrier, and as a result you have got immediately infection. Respiratory system, if you insert any foreign body in the form of endotracheal tube or nasogastric tube, NG tube, which are most commonly given in the clinical scenario when the patients are in coma, or they cannot take the food by their mouth, so they are given NG tubes or endotracheal tubes. They can also damage the mucosa that is lining your respiratory tract or GI tract, and as a result bacteria will enter. Then when the patients have got kidney stones or urinary bladder stones, there is obstruction of the urine, or due to tumors or any other conditions, the first thing in the wards done is a catheter is passed so that their urinary retention is relieved. That is again an outer object you are inserting into the urethra, so that can damage the urogenital mucosa. Then the change in pH during pregnancy is also makes the ladies prone to infections. And taking antibiotics, sometimes you take a lot of antibiotics, they can go in the GI tract and kill your normal commensal bacteria. Once they are killed, you are more prone to develop infections. Okay, so these are all the clinical situations. If you insert an NG tube, you insert an endotracheal tube, if there is a cut, there is a burn, there is an abrasion, or insert a catheter, or change in the pH, giving antibiotics to people, you should remember that you are kind of tampering with the first inborn barrier. And if it is damaged, then the patients are prone to develop infections. So now we'll come back to the scenario. I hope you have understood by now that what caused this patient to have infection. The endotracheal tube, because it will damage the mucosa and the barrier. As a result, they have got infection. So far, anything that is not clear? Fine? Okay, we'll go to the second thing. I've already talked about the natural or innate immunity. That first thing is, it is not specific. Now, what is meant by specific? Okay. Okay. Yes, I'll try to finish it quickly. Bismillah. So the bacteria, they are classified into gram-positive, gram-negative. Then in the gram-positive, there are cocci and bacilli, streptococcal round-shaped structures, elongated, and then there are a lot of names of bacteria: typhoid, malaria, tuberculosis, salmonella, pseudomonas aeruginosa. If innate immune system, it will tackle with the gram-positive and negative just based on two major groups: gram-positive, gram-negative. That's all. It doesn't recognize the details. But the adaptive immune system, the B cell and T cells, they know exactly: is it pseudomonas aeruginosa, is it tuberculosis, is it typhoid, whichever organism in detail specifically. So this word non-specific means it will just deal with broad group of pathogens. Then, as I told you, innate immunity does not have memory. It takes minutes. It will immediately attack the pathogen. And on the other hand, so the components of the innate immune system are: these are the cells. You have learned them in your hematology, that neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils, and agranular cells like monocyte, macrophages, dendritic cell, and natural killer cell. These are the cells of the innate immune system. Then another thing that you need to remember here is that monocytes and dendritic cells, they are also called as antigen presenting cell. They take the bacteria, take out the small portion, the antigen of the bacteria, and present it to other cells. So that's why they are called as antigen presenting cells. Now, of course, they don't have eyes. How do they see the pathogen? They see them with the help of receptors, special receptors. And these receptors are called as pattern recognition receptors, PRR. Okay? So the broad group is pattern recognition receptors, big, and then the small ones. Some of the examples are TLR, toll-like receptor, and one example is complement. When I told you the definition, the immune system is going to defend you from the pathogens, and it's also going to defend you from the tumors or the damage that is taking place inside the cells. So they should be able to recognize or judge both these things, the tumors and the pathogens. Now, if you look at this figure, neutrophil is the innate immune cell. It has got this blue receptor, which is PRR, pattern recognition receptor. The bacteria has got, it's the pathogen, and he has got molecular pattern, special molecular pattern. So the innate immune cells recognizes the pathogen with the help of PRR. And they can also recognize the damaged tissue with the help of PRR. So remember, the eyes of innate immune system are PRR. And where they are present everywhere. On the surface of the cells, inside the cytoplasm, and sometimes in the secreted form. So these three are the different forms: intracellular, surface, and the soluble secreted form. And these are some of the examples. We'll talk about these later on, but at the moment you can just appreciate that TLR 1, 5, and 9, which are a type of PRR, they recognizes bacteria. TLR 3 recognizes viruses. TLR 6 recognizes mycoplasma, just classified into different categories. Then another important thing, just a broad concept, that if you will compare innate immune system compared to adaptive, innate is not specific, adaptive is very, very specific. That's why the menu board of adaptive immune system has a lot of names, because it knows all of them one by one very specifically. And if you compare here, people sitting here, but we'll compare two people, Ahmed and Khalid in the male gender, and Sarah and Amal in the female. The innate immune system among all four is same. So on the left side, if you see the innate immunity genes, they remain the same, and all of us will have same immune response. While the adaptive immune system, it is difference among all of us, whether it's between the genders or within the gender. Okay? And why? Because of one thing which is called as gene rearrangement. Again, there is a whole lecture on that. So just at the moment, remember, adaptive immune system is difference among different people because of the genes. Now I'll just quickly go to this figure, and that's the end of it. The left side red figure is innate immunity, and the bottom adaptive immunity is the bottom one. And the main figure here shows you two things. So if you look here, This red thing is the timeline, how long it takes for the innate immune system to start the response. Okay, and this part shows you the strength of the immune response. So if you see, first time the time required is less, the response is good. Second exposure, same. Third exposure, same. Subsequent exposure, same. On the contrary, adaptive immune system, first time, look, a lot of time is required to respond, and the response is very small. Next time, the time has reduced, the magnitude of the response is increased. Then further, the time is reduced further, magnitude is increased. And finally, on subsequent exposure, time is as less as the innate immune system, but look at the magnitude. The immune response is very strong. So this is the main difference between adaptive and innate immune system based on memory. And this I have told you already, that dendritic cell, macrophages and B cells, they are also called as antigen presenting cell. And we'll take it further in the next lecture, that how they do their function, or what is the difference between them.